do everything it takes. And the bottom line is the coaches, the administrators of organizations and teams have to have an appreciation of what they're doing it for. And that's the critical thing of all. So we lost your sound. I don't know if you got a phone call or not, but Kim, I really appreciate your story because you're ahead of the time. But I'd like to take you back 40 more years, which was my time before you were born. And NHL guys used to skate at a conditioning camp I ran for 3 weeks. They came in. That was their training. Nobody trained in the off season. So fast forward to our women's national team in '98. The Americans had centralized for 18 months before Nagano. We centralized for 4. And we were just tipping our feet in the water about training, let alone nutrition and sports psychology. So the outcome, which drives everybody's reason for existing, made us realize, what do we got to do right? What do we got to do differently? And Tim, that was at about a time when you knew what was going on physiologically, and the powers to be in sport in Canada and North America didn't. So in my era, working with NHL players and want to be NHL players, they took that 3 weeks and did everything progressively and crunched it and squeezed it into 3 weeks so they could go to training camp, make an impression, and get a contract. But it took a while for the NHL so to begin to hire specialists, sports scientists. And I'm sure everything we're talking about is going on with all professional teams and organizations to a degree. So, Tom, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a story with when Wally was coaching Junior A in the Alberta Junior. He was leading the league, and the owner of the team was an ex-Toronto Maple Leaf. So Wally, I was kind of the guy around Calgary that did off-ice training. So Wally had me training the guys in the parking lot. And Wally was leading the league, like his team was leading the league. And Wally got fired because the guy said, "You're doing all this weird stuff." So that's where the training was at in those days.
And they're not ready for it. And the guy was an ex-NHL player. He was the GM. And, it's something that I was just taking for granted, doing things the right way. So, Kim, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think, for me, again, you don't need to have like the Mike Boyle understanding of strength and conditioning to get all this stuff done, or you don't have to be the guru of mental training as a bench coach. And that's something that, as when I started my business, it was about helping the players, and then now it's kind of transitioned to helping the coaches. And I don't know if I sent this to you, Wally, but I meant to. This is a book I wrote. I actually wrote it in 2009, which makes me feel old.
I have it.
I think I sent you the PDF version of it, but I called it Best Hockey Season Ever. And it's like a step-by-step 16-week, like, here's what you do for on-ice conditioning. Here's what you do for nutrition. So meant for the club hockey coach to go and use with their team. And I don't even have it on my website right now. I don't know what's happening. I got too much stuff going on. Mike will have to help me with that. But it's funny because I was coaching a junior game out in Cambridge, Ontario, this old barn. And they were doing a fundraiser, and they sell like cookies or whatever to raise money. So I always go up there and buy all the cookies because I like cookies. And because I'm doing it for charity, it's, they're healthy. And so I went up, bought this huge box of cookies. The guy behind the table's like, "Are you Kim?" "Yeah." So I bought your Best Hockey Season Ever book like 10 years ago. And I had never coached before. and we won provincials. And I had this whole team at ragtag. He's like, I just followed it. I didn't even question it. I did the whole thing. And I laughed because it's like there's a whole section on nutrition. Here I am buying like 40 cookies with like 3 inches of icing on the top. And I'm like, oh, practice what you preach. But anyways, it was pretty cool. But I think that's the big thing. And I know we've all been involved in coach development, right? Is you can't say, well, just go out and here's all you need to learn this as a coach, and you need to learn this as a coach. We look at the season planning we ask coaches to do, and they got to put in what they're going to do for conditioning. They got to put in what they're going to do for mental. They got to put in what they're going to do for nutrition. And I think that's all great. But the majority of minor hockey coaches don't have the resources to deliver that, or they don't know how to put it all together. Right. And so I think things like Coach's Site and they're great resources. And that's like all my stuff on Total Female Hockey is free. I probably shouldn't give it all away for free, but I do. But even then it's hard to sift through. Right. You can find articles here like what I sent your buddy there, Mike, to try and make his brain explode of all the goal scoring articles I've written. They're not that organized. Tom's site's great too. Right. But like I think we just have to do a better job of curating these types of resources for people. And, that goes back to, the director's cut that Mike's doing, right? I think associations need to say, hey, here's best practices. Here's some simple things, right? Here's some, like, we're not going to all be like measuring our protein and fats on nutrition. Like, you're not going to get your whole team to do that, right? But could you like get them to drink enough water based on how much they weigh? Absolutely. Would that have an impact? Absolutely. Right. Could you get them to do a cool down? Could you get them to do a proper warm up and maybe like a little circuit to work on strength? Yes. Do you have a full-time strength and conditioning coach? Most teams don't. Right. And that's where I think sometimes coaches get, it's overwhelming, right? How do I fit this all in? How do I want to work on skills and I want to work on this and I got to work on the breakout. And it's a lot. It's a lot for me even to put together a season's plan. And I know we've all put together a zillion of them. And this is what I do full time. If you're a lawyer or a doctor or a plumber, where is this information coming from and what gives the most impact? Because I think we get lost. We watch whoever's NHL power play and we go, oh, let's teach them that. Like I tried to teach the Washington's power play for 7 years with the junior team, but I never had Ovechkin on the back door. So I might have had a kid who could kind of do what Backstrom does, but I never had Ovi on the back door. So was it even worth my while, or would I have been better off teaching him how to pass better? So I just mean it to say that I think, even the mission statement exercise, Wally, which is great, we have to make it accessible. And I think, that pay angle you were talking about, I think there's a certain amount of what you do in those sessions that you give away for free. It's like self-guided. Hey, you go and do this, it's a PDF, it's a 5-minute video with Wally, it's whatever. And then there's a higher value offering where Wally actually walks you through it, or somebody that Wally's trained actually takes you and your team through it. We did it with our organization, Wally. I don't know if I ever told you about this. I did it with Leaside this fall. I had Dr. Beth McCharles, she works with Hockey Canada. It's basically the same thing, like a value statement and generating that for your team. And we have 30 competitive coaches. They were all on the call. It was great. And I asked them all to put it together, and about half of them sent them to me. But the really cool ones, the AA coaches, the A coaches, some of them didn't send it to me, actually. Some of our top end coaches were like, bang. But a lot of the B and double B coaches did it. I would say the majority of them did it, which was amazing. And one coach in particular, he played D1. He coaches B. He has no intention of coaching. So B is like just above house league here. It's like the lowest level of rep we have in Ontario. I hate using the word lowest level, but you know what I mean. It's like the entry level to rep. And he, I think he played at Minnesota State. I can't remember. He probably played at Ohio State. I just offended him or something. But anyways, he did it with his team, and he's old school. He was like, I didn't really want to do it, Kim, but we were at a tournament and we had an extra hour. And I had the girls write their values and they put them on the wall. And then we voted on the ones that we wanted to use for our team. And he had the parents in the room in the back, they're all eating pizza and drinking pop. And he said it was amazing. He was like, he's like, it was the best hour of time I could have spent with this group. He goes, and he's coaching B girls. I think they're U13. And he's played at the highest levels and he's coached a long time. and he was skeptical. And he said the girls just loved it. The buy-in from the players was amazing. The parents loved it. They thought it was great. And it was a throwaway hour. He's like, well, I guess we're at the tournament anyways. We got an extra hour before we go tire ourselves out in the pool. Let's do the thing Kim said we should do. And I thought it was great. And I've gotten a lot of messages like that. And, you know, some look beautiful and are written on posters, and some are just an email the coach sent. It's like a one-liner of here's our value statement. But it's having an impact, Wally. And I think, you know, having it available for everybody is critical. And I think if it's behind a paywall, it's a bit of a disservice. Although I would say, I don't know how many people are on the coaches site. I think there's a lot of coaches on there, but I think if the baseline of it is there and coaches or organizations are willing to do even an hour presentation or a half an hour presentation, if you could get 30% of your organization to do it, like for me, if 10 of our teams do it, that's 170 athletes who've now been exposed to that, right? That's 10 coaches, and all our coaches mostly coach all the way through, right? They're not one and done. So now we got coaches who are going to do that for 10 years with all their teams because they see the impact of it. I think it's the organizational level that really drives the bus. I agree with you completely, Wally, and I've seen it. I knew it would have that impact, but it's really cool to actually hear from the coaches themselves the impact that it's had on their teams and their players and their families.
Mike, I hope you can convince Aaron to do it with however many number of coaches. And I think he's thinking of it with his corporate group first. In the conversation we had, they want to look at the powerful impact it could have with his company's operation, and then translate that to whether it's a large body of coaches. And then I did want to say that the large body of coaches is what I call the bottom up. And the sports governing body has the power to certify. Mandatorily, they must take certification through the sports governing body. And that little 45-minute exercise, I'm sure if it gets off the ground in a broader base and enough coaches and organizations say this works, it may eventually get introduced and implemented with not a broad audience, every coach that ever coaches at the beginning of their coaching, right to the elite level. So that's sort of my goal, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes and give away whatever it takes, because the good that can come out of it is everybody will be better off for the whole process. So now I don't know if Tom has the hand up or Mike, but